Hello, this is a presentation of a Terraforming Mars board generator that I created using JavaScript. The tool is supposed to be used in conjunction with a digital version of Terraforming Mars, the one currently developed by Artifact Studio and published by Asmodee. What it allows you to do is design custom boards and import them in the game to be able to play something other than Tharsis, Elysium and Hellas that are currently available. This could range from other official boards not yet available in the digital version, such as Utopia and Cimmeria, to fan-made boards found on the net, to boards that you personally designed. What makes it possible to import the custom boards in-game isn't this tool, but rather the mod that I'm developing alongside it called michumod. This is more of a utility tool to help me generate JSON files that the mod, and thus the game, reads. Designing a board is very simple. We start by defining its size, which is currently 9, as we can see in the control panel on the left side of the screen. 9 is the default size of all currently available boards in-game, which are Tharsis, Elysium and Hellas, as mentioned, and the size that the majority of the boards of the physical game use. There is only one board, that being Amazonis, that uses a size of 11, so it's bigger. The size refers to the number of hex tiles along the equator, so from this point to that. Smaller and bigger boards don't currently work in-game, but I'm working on it. The show coordinates toggle shows the cube coordinates on the board. More about this on the post I have in my blog over at michumod.dev, as well as the excellent post from Red Blood Games that I studied, explaining everything about hexagonal grids. Show tile IDs prints the ID of each tile on the board. These numbers are used by the game to define a lot of properties for each tile, such as if it's an ocean slot or not, if and what resources or bonuses it has, if it's a volcanic area, etc. You can mark a tile as an ocean slot by left-clicking on it. Clicking on it again will revert it back to a normal tile. Simple as this. Assigning resources is done by dragging and dropping the resource we need from the control panel. So for example, steel, titanium, some plants, a card, some heat. And to remove a resource, we right-click on it. There is a limit of 3 resources per tile. So if I try to place more than 3, I will get a message that each tile can have a maximum of 3 resources. I believe that this is a limit or rule that exists in the physical game as well. I haven't seen a board using more than 3 resources on a tile yet. Besides the standard resources, I have added extra ones that I thought would have an interesting impact on gameplay, such as microbes, animals, floaters, science, standard resource of your choice, or asteroid, as well as the ability to raise oxygen, which doesn't exist on any board until now. The last resource is actually an anti-resource, since it defines the tile cost, what the player should pay in mega credits when placing a tile on that slot. So by dragging it on the board and giving it a number, let's say 5, we say to the game that it should remove 5 mega credits from the player if available. If not, he/she cannot place a tile there. And this type of anti-resource is removed in the same way, just clicking on it. Microbes, animals, floats, science, wild and asteroid resources don't currently work with the mod, but I'm working on it. This is because extra code is required to define how these resources should be handled. For example, when a player places a tile on a tile slot with a microbe resource, or that microbe resource to a card that can receive them, if any. The energy resource does work and is part of the official Utopia board that I have recreated using this workflow. Next, location names. You can set special location names or volcanic area names by right-clicking on a tile and selecting the name you want. For example, Albortolus, Arsia Mons. This works as it should in game, so the game will force you to place volcanic area only tiles on these slots. I have expanded the name list to include the volcanic areas of the new official maps, Utopia, Cimmeria, Amazonis and Vastitas, adding names such as Alba Mons and Uranus Solus. I've also implemented a randomizer to make designing a board a bit faster and a little bit more fun. You can randomize ocean slots and resources separately. The min and max controls are straightforward. With the current setting of 5 and 15, the randomizer will place any number of ocean slots between 5 and 15. These are some examples. If you want a certain number of slots, you can input the same number in both fields. For example, most boards of this size use 12 oceans, so this is what we're going to go for in this case. Let's keep generating until we find something interesting. Let's say this. Resources can be randomized as well, as many times as we need, until we have a semi-balanced output. We can include and exclude certain resources from the randomization by right-clicking on them. The deactivated ones will turn gray, as we can see. Since some of them don't work properly in game yet, we're going to deactivate them. So I'm going to exclude microbe, animal, floater, science, wild, and asteroid. A note on the randomizer. It does user logic on the background to determine the percentage of tiles with 1, 2, or 3 resources, as well as the probability that each resource has to appear on the board. For example, plant resources are more common than titanium. The numbers are currently hard-coded based on the study I did on official boards, but I may introduce a way of changing them through the user interface in the future. Okay, so we placed oceans, resources, and volcanic areas. Then we can either use the top section of the control panel to save the board locally on our machine as a JSON file, or use export JSON at the bottom of the control panel to create a JSON file specifically formatted to be read by the game. So the top options of save and load are used if we want to save our work and continue editing this board in the future, while the bottom option is for ready game boards. It will generate a file that we have to copy and paste in a specific location within the game's folder structure. So let's export the JSON. Custom board. Generate the JSON for us. So after moving a JSON file to the correct location, we launch the game. Let's create a local game to test stuff out. In the board variant section, besides Tharsis, Elysium, and Hellas, we will now have available Utopia, Cimmeria, Amazonis, and Vastitas, which are recreations of the last released original boards using exactly the same workflow as the one that I'm showing. And we also have custom, which is what we're going to choose. Let's add an easy AI and create the game. Let's choose a corporation, preludes, and some cards real fast. And as we can see, our custom board works within the game and is fully playable. Let's place an ocean to show that it works and that we receive the resources that we should receive. We have 0 titanium. Now we have 2. The cool thing is that you can play this board with friends as long as both of you use the same game version, mod, and custom board JSON file. So this was the general workflow of designing a custom board and importing it into Terraforming Mars Digital using this tool and michumod. There are still a few things that I would like to improve or fix, such as make the larger or smaller boards work in game, write code for the extra resources, and maybe implement a milestone and award randomizer. I've already found a way to create custom milestones and awards, which I showcased briefly in the previous video on this channel with my work on Utopia, Cimmeria, and Vastitas. If you like what you saw, follow this channel or visit my blog over at michumod.dev, where I write more in detail about this project, the technical difficulties I had, and ideas for the future. If you have ideas or would like to contribute, drop a comment below or contact me through email, which is going to be available in the description below. Thank you for your time.